father was a MD practicing doctor in Long Beach, and Mom was from a ranch, grew up on a ranch in western Nebraska, and Dad was an Iowa farm boy. And the reason that I have a connection to Garden Grove is because my mom and dad there were 4 of us in the family, and they wanted us children to have a farm experience, not grow up to be totally city slickers. So Mom researched areas to buy. She fell into some money, and they bought 10 acres on the corner of Garden Grove Boulevard and Cannery in 1936 for $150 an acre. I really was kind of mostly raised up until about the 3rd grade in Long Beach, but we always came out to the farm in the summertime, barefoot in overalls, with lots of animals. And there was nothing on this acreage. And they bought a house after the Long Beach earthquake and they were moving houses off of the beach at that time. And they got a house, a 2-bedroom bungalow with a detached garage, and put it on the farm. I think Mom and Dad said that was about $350 for that house set up. Anyway,
$350.
Yes.
Okay. Checking.
Yeah, I don't know what the table is for the ratio, but it's something to think about. But then Dad was probably getting maybe $2 for a house call at that time. Mm-hmm. So it's all relative. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And eventually that house became what we call the hired man's house, because we acquired so many horses and all these animals that they needed somebody to live there to feed them when we weren't there. And that ended with World War II, because all the men were drafted. So eventually one of my sisters and Mom and I moved to the farm. And I loved it. I was never had an ounce of city slicker in me. Mm-hmm. And I loved the fact that we were back at the farm. We were at the farm when Pearl Harbor was bombed, and I have a memory of that, of the gasping, mm-hmm. and the follow-up of the Japanese people being put in camps. Mm-hmm. I have a very vivid memory of those. One of the things that's vivid to me is after the Japanese people were taken to the camps, and Mom did not explain that to me. It wasn't part of the conversation, but there was a strawberry field on Garden Grove Boulevard, and we went over. I remember one day we went over there and picked strawberries, and I was concerned that we were stealing them, and I guess I expressed that, and Mom then she explained to me that no, we weren't stealing them, we were harvesting because the farmer that planted them wouldn't be there to harvest them. Mm. So we picked strawberries and probably took them home and made jam, I would imagine. Yeah. Yes, there were orange groves all around those 2 properties of ours. And we kids would ride over. We had, we could ride along our property, along the orange grove, blah, blah, blah. And we would do that. And my sister and I, during the war, would take this trail over to Trask Avenue, where now they have all the automobile dealerships. And there was it was called Haster's Field, and the planes from the Naval Air Base would do touch and goes there, and we'd sit on horses and watch them, and they'd come in and they never stopped. They'd just go along the ground a little bit and go up, and that was one of the highlights. We didn't have television or any of that. And we would ride over there and sit on our horses and watch those planes. It was fun, if you can imagine. But on full moon nights, the older kids, plus neighbors that would come in that were part of our gang, their gang, and we had enough people to ride every horse that we all had there, would go play hide and seek in the orange groves.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And then the owners of the orange grove, of course, would call over to the farm and say, "Get your damn kids out of my grove," because they'd bump the oranges off the trees. And then my mom would go out and honk the horn on the car, and the groves were like, if you know where Garden Square is, that they were around there. That's where they played hide and seek, and that horn would carry there, carry all the way over to Brookhurst, and boy, they better get home quick. And but I think the orange groves started disappearing after the war. When people, all those guys that were stationed here said, "I'd like to live in California. It's warm there in the winter." And I suppose that would be along about the 50s. Yeah. When I graduated from high school, the land across from street from us had been developed as a subdivision. I remember that. And I think those houses sold for about $8,000. And we'd go over there and think how nice it'd be to live in one of those. Little did we know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our house was kind of the one that they built, besides the one they moved on, was, as my mom used to say, it's a patch upon a patch with a hole in the middle. If at that time there were nobody came to inspect or anything. If you needed a room, you got the hammer and you added one. So as they needed more rooms for our weekend adventures, then they just added room.